Good afternoon, everybody on YouTube. This is Rick Thomas from Obsolete Video Services. Hey guys, as you know, I have been assessing a lot of the digital formats I just got on a donation this past week, or almost a week and a half now. And anyways, these are some really good digital formats. You got your digital S, which is a D9, and you got your D-5, which is a digital format, and we got a D-2 that's still in the garage waiting on some parts to get that one up and running. But today we are assessing how we're going to position these decks in my studio. As you know, I try to keep things in racks and keep everything kind of neat. When I need to access something, I can. So anyways, just want to point out something to you guys. It's something I didn't point out in any of my previous videos. These decks are very heavy, okay? As you can see, they're very long. They got quite long decks, big time. And look at the size of this one. I mean, they're very, very long. These are digital decks, and the D5 is just as long once I get that in here. Anyways, I want to point out you need to have some really good carts or racks that can support this kind of weight. These things are very, very heavy. And this particular rack is cool because I got it in Chicago back in the 90s. There used to be a company called Encyclopedia Britannica in a building, and when I was working on Michigan Avenue, they went out of business, and I guess the whole floor, they were selling everything off on the floor that they had. I've had this rack a long time. I mean, it's sort of kind of cool that I've had this rack so long, but this rack was built for very heavy equipment back in late 80s, mid-early 90s. I don't know what exactly they had on this rack, but as you can see, this is very cool. But it's a very heavy-duty rack with a 3-tier base to it. Now these are solid welded shelves on these actual the actual framing of this thing. These are welded really hard, and it's very thick metal. It's not this thin stuff you would get now on these racks. This thing I could hold at least, if I had to guess, you could probably put 5, maybe 7, maybe up to 10,000 pounds on this thing. This is a very heavy duty rack. It even holds more weight than even these racks, because these racks here are built for weight, but they're a much thinner material, thinner metal. And you can see, you see how you could shake it. It doesn't hold, I think these hold a couple thousand pounds, maybe 2,000 pounds or less. They started making these racks a lot thinner in metal makeup. This rack here is really heavy duty. You can tell the metal on this one that I got from StarTech for this unit. And this thing alone is 400, almost 500 pounds. So you want to have good racks when you got very heavy equipment, especially these decks. These things are really heavy, especially this D5. So having them on a rack, but you want to make it where you can roll it around on wheels. This thing has heavy duty casters on it all the way around. It also has in the back where you got like a little handle where you could actually roll it out of the way, make your connections in the back, and everything's right there, and you don't have to sit there and lift this crap every time you turn around. And it makes it a lot easier to roll it over to my main frame where I can plug everything in when I'm doing transfers from tapes such as these. Plus, it makes it a lot easier to work on these if you got to clean the heads or whatever, because you have room to take the covers off, and it's a lot easier to clean the video heads or whatever you need to do. But anyways, I just wanted to make a video. All our digital formats, our D5, our digital D9, and our D2 is all going to be on one rack. I'm trying to assess what I'm going to do here. I do need to get a rack for all my specialty EIAJs, so I'm going to be getting something different for these. But this rack is going to be more of my needs, especially for this equipment, because this stuff is godly heavy. I mean, the weight of this stuff is just really heavy. I mean, it's not light. It takes 2 people to pick one of these suckers up. It's so heavy. So when I get the D2, and I'm going to put the D2 on the bottom, because that's going to be heavier than the D5. So we're going to put the D2 on the bottom, D5 in the middle, digital S, D9 on top. So when people come to me and you guys ask if I could do D5, D2, or digital S, either one of these formats, I'll have them in one rack, and I can roll it to wherever I need to do the tape transfer for you if you come here and visit me in my studio, or if you ship me a tape or whatever it is. But you want to make your studio clean. You want to make it neat. You want to make everything accessible, because you do have to clean video heads and things on these things. And if you get tape jams or whatever, this is what I try to prevent when I service all my equipment. I don't want to be dealing with tape jams and all that type of stuff. That's why a good working machine is the way to go. They need to be serviced, and as long as you're in a clean environment, stay out of dirty environments, people, if you can help it. Machine rooms, good ventilation. If you have good air conditioning, like in your house, like I do here, it's not so bad. We are in Arizona. It's like 106 degrees today, guys. So you got to have a good air conditioning in the area where you have your equipment where you're working. These things do have self-contained fans on the back for cooling, including the D-2. Major fans on the back of these. This has 2 fans here. These have 2 major fans, and the D-5 has 2 gigantic fans. So they have their own cooling fans on the back. They're sort of like computers, because you got to understand these things have a lot of cards. They get very, very hot, and this is serious broadcast equipment here, guys. This is state-of-the-art digital stuff of the time. So this stuff has a lot of cards. You got to have sufficient cooling for these, and these type of units, like I said, they get very hot, but if you're in a good environment and your decks are really clean, they got self-contained fans, you want to make everything as neat as possible, but you got to invest in racks. Racks are very important, especially when you got heavy, heavy stuff like this stuff. This thing weighs a ton. You got to have racks that can handle all the weight. A lot of these Betacam SP and digital Betacam SPs, these are not even close to the weight of those. These are they weigh a hell of a lot less in weight, so these racks are sufficient for that. But as you can see, I had to put this 1-inch machine in this whole one rack all by itself, because this thing weighs almost 500 pounds. So all these racks, depending on the weight, whatever type of machinery you're putting in it, you got to keep in mind, these racks do have a weight limit. They will break if you exceed that weight limit. I've seen it. Actually, it's happened to me a couple times. On a cheaper rack that I bought, I put a heavy unit on it, and the whole shelf just bent right down. It just bent. We wanted to slide right off the rack. So invest in racks, guys. It's very important. And key little helpful tip out there to people: if you go to garage sales or even Goodwills and stuff like that, look for the heavy-duty racks that are heavy duty and they're old. They will hold up to heavy stuff compared to any of this new stuff you buy. Just want to give you that little thought today. We are getting our digital stuff into my studio slowly, so we'll be able to do D-5, D-2, and digital D-9. So I hope you enjoyed this video.